Welcome back to the Sideline Sorcerers. Now, it was quite the week in the NFL, especially for some Notre Dame alumni. We've got Blake Grupe, the kicker on the New Orleans Saints, who goes off for 5 field goals. Kyron Williams puts up like 200 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns.
He just owns the Cardinals.
Yeah, evidently so. But good week for the Notre Dame folk. And we also got to see one of the best games in the NFL, I think, all year in the Bills at Eagles game. So a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Blake Grupe was accountable for all of the Saints' points. Mm-hmm. It was an ugly performance on their part, but he definitely showed up. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed, honestly, watching the Buffalo-Philly game. I almost watched all of it, but it was frustrating because I picked Buffalo, had some money on them, and they blew it in so many ways. But we'll get to that. Let's just kick it right on off with our Week 12 assessment. Jake went 8-8, bringing his total up to 107.73. I went 11-5, bringing mine to 114.66. Starting with the Thursday games, they went pretty much as expected, except for the first one, Green Bay at Detroit. I mean, right off the bat, Green Bay, Jordan Love threw a humongous pass down the field. I think it was like a 50-yarder.
Christian Watson.
Yeah, just set the tone for the day, really. And Jordan Love, I have to say, I mean, he looked good. Never thought that Green Bay would come in and upset Detroit. And honestly, I think if you like simulate this game 100 times, Detroit wins like 70% of the time. Mm-hmm. Jared Goff had 2 fluky back-to-back fumbles that gave the Packers great field position. And one of those times, I don't even think they scored. So just some like fluky turnovers. Obviously, Jared Goff has to protect the ball a little bit more, but those come and go. He had some turnovers against the Bears, had some here. I think he'll be fine now. The law of averages will kick in, and he'll be fine. I think the Lions are fine. They still are 8-3. The Packers, I don't think Jordan Love is still anything special, but he certainly has played better over the last few weeks. And yeah, I mean, the Lions made it somewhat interesting. I don't fully agree with all their play calling. I mean, they went for it out of 4 down with a fake punt. Didn't like that. If they kicked some more of those field goals, it would have been, the game would have been more in reach for sure. So, yeah, I mean, just, probably the best Thanksgiving game. And we'll kind of talk about it. So I want to touch on, like, the NFL has this primetime problem, in my opinion. I haven't seen the ratings, but all these primetime games are just bad.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. But back to your point about Green Bay and Detroit, we were kind of dogging on Jordan Love last week. We both said that he is not like their franchise QB. Like we did not think that
I still don't think so. But he's played well enough so that they won't replace him yet.
I actually saw a kind of a crazy stat here. I don't know if you've seen this like on Instagram or anything, but through the Aaron Rodgers' first 11 games, he was 5-6 with X number of yards.
Yeah, they're very similar. Jordan Love might be actually better in some categories. I have seen that, but
it was like 17 touchdowns and maybe 9 interceptions, and Jordan Love had more touchdowns and I think maybe 1 more interception, but then also 5-6.
My thing with that is like the game was played a little differently back then. Like
that's true.
Time, like the quarterback market is so tight. There's so many elite players out there. The draft this year is so good. Like, you have to have a good quarterback to win. Like, back then, and even going back farther, you didn't need a tremendous quarterback to always win. You had a good defense, and that was the most important component to it. So I think Jordan Love is making more boneheaded plays. He's not, as physically gifted, off kilter as Aaron Rodgers was. So I think that's the difference there. He still may go on to be successful. I don't think he's transcendent like Aaron Rodgers was, or Brett Favre, or a Hall of Fame, or anything like that. He had a couple good flashes here. But the Lions' defense, the secondary, is not very good. Like the Chargers lit it up. It's gotten lit up before. Of course, the Ravens did as well. So I'm not sold on really anything that he did there. He got, some lucky, nice field position. I think he comes back down to earth this upcoming week, though, big time.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They are facing, the Chiefs, so a good opponent for them. But did you have anything else to add about the primetime problem, though?
Well, as we go through these games, I'll mention it, but I just don't think there were really any good primetime games. I mean, this one was fine, I'd say, but the next two, and we mentioned this last week, I think I said all 3 of these games had a chance of being a blowout. Yeah. Obviously, that one wasn't, but Washington at Dallas, blowout. San Fran at Seattle, blowout, where the 2 teams that got blown out played very ugly, I'd say. I mean, Sam Howell played all right, but he had a pick 6. Geno Smith didn't look great. I kind of figured that he wouldn't be because he was coming off that tricep injury, so I didn't think he would throw for a ton of yards. I actually took a bet where he would be under like 230, and it hits pretty easily there. So, yeah, I mean, just kind of talking about both these games real quick. Dak Prescott looks amazing. I think it's hilarious that he breaks out the turkey leg mid-game. That's just like the ultimate like FU, when you break out the turkey leg.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he's on the sideline like the third quarter already chomping away. But, I mean, good for him, man. Wow. He played fantastic. But I mean,
that's like 4 weeks in a row. He's just absolutely went off.
I mean, they are so good at home. Like, Dallas has been phenomenal at home, and he's tossed like 4 touchdowns at home the last 3 times in a row. He's in the MVP conversation sneakily. I mean, he's just kind of shown up there.
Yeah, he did lessen those interception numbers.
Oh, yeah, like he said. So good for him. Good for him. Hopefully you can say that in the playoffs as well. But, yeah, I mean, happy to see Dak do well after all of his injury problems that he's had. For Brock Purdy, he threw a pick 6, which wasn't good. But, I mean, he played pretty well. This game just ultimately, it got really out of hand quickly for Seattle, and then San Fran got pretty conservative. But, I mean, San Fran was going up and down the field on Seattle here.
I mean, they just looked like they were so dominant in that game.
They always are against the Seahawks. Like, even being in Seattle, like, it just doesn't matter. I mean, and yeah, like I said, Geno Smith coming off of his injury, I mean, he's just not playing great.
I mean, the Seahawks just looked terrible the entire game. They didn't, I don't even think they had an offensive touchdown, did they? It was just 2 or 3 field goals, and then it was like the return touchdown.
I believe
like
you're
the
right.
Interception return for a touchdown.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It was just so bad.
It was god awful. And yeah, as for Sam Howell, real quick, he played pretty good, I would say, for the most part. Obviously, throwing the pick 6 at the end, but it was already out of hand at that point. It just, they didn't take advantage of their opportunities, and they got swallowed up. I almost kind of thought they would cover in this game. Like, that was 9.5. That was a lot of points.
Dude, I actually thought that too, because I mean, they hung with Philly and like.
I mean, they were hanging in there for a while for the like first half, but then I literally took this bet like mid-game. Sam Howell like over 134 passing yards in the second half, and he came up 4 yards short. So
no way.
F you, Sam Howell. I hate on the last drive. They don't even he doesn't even come out to play the last drive because they were already down so much. So. Anyways, moving on to the Friday night game, Miami at the Jets. See, this is, the primetime problem right here. Here's another example. A horrible primetime game. I understand it was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers, but you have to make adjustments. Like, we've known that's not going to be Aaron Rodgers since week 1. I don't understand why you can't start flexing some of these games out.
Especially like for the very first ever Black Friday kind of game. Like
I understand maybe there's something with this Amazon Prime deal. Like, you got the games you got, don't make a fit about it. But the games that are like Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, I think those you can flex a little bit more, because I know they've done it before, especially later on in the season. Like, you'll see for the final week of the year, they will choose which game they want to be Sunday night, and they will choose the most like staked game, like the games with the most stakes, to be Sunday Night Football in week 18. And that's what they do. I don't know why they can't just start doing that maybe a little bit earlier on. I know they have all these TV deals and shit, but it's like you got to change, because I didn't watch really any of this game only because it was like on the TV in the restaurant I was in, and it looked ugly. I mean, Tua didn't even play that well. Obviously, you have Tim Boyle in. It's not even Zach Wilson anymore. I mean, it's god awful. It's gross. Yeah. I took Tim Boyle under 170 yards. He got 179, so I got gypped out of a couple of yardage ones there, but I don't know. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, did you see like at halftime or right before halftime
the pick 6?
That crazy pick 6.
That was
bro.
That was wild for sure. I mean,
how does that happen on a Hail Mary, man?
That's the problem. I feel bad for Tim Boyle, because like you throw that ball thinking like, I know this very well could get picked off.
But it's not going to get returned for a touchdown.
Yeah, that's like the risk you take. Like when you throw a Hail Mary, like Josh Allen last week against the Jets did the same thing. Like he had a Hail Mary, got picked off right before half, but they didn't return it. It was a fluke play. And yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of funny, to be honest, that, the week before the Jets caught a Hail Mary, didn't return it for a touchdown before half, and then the thing happens to them. Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't even, like Tua didn't have to play well in this game, obviously. I mean, he didn't, but yeah.
Yeah.
Happy prime time.
Yeah. Nothing else for me to add to that one.
Yeah. What a great start to the Black Friday in this. Because I love that they're doing more games on different days. Like, I loved back during the COVID year,
when there would be games like on
and Wednesdays. There was even, I think there was like Washington and Pittsburgh, or like maybe it was Washington and the Ravens on a Wednesday. It was awesome. I love that because it just extends the fun, and you could watch more games. because obviously on Sunday here, you can't watch everything.
Right. That actually reminds me, though, this is a little bit off topic, but we can give some dating advice here. So,
Oh, yeah?
I saw this talk earlier, bro, and it was this guy saying to his girlfriend, like, hey, baby, like, I decided I'm going to take you out tonight. I decided we're not going to watch Tuesday Night Football. We watch football all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you out and give you a great night. And the lady was so happy.
Mm-hmm.
She was just overjoyed at this generosity from her boyfriend.
Wow. How generous of him.
I know, right? Exactly. No Tuesday Night Football. So he was getting some good action that night.
I mean, what you really got to do is tell her, like, hey, why don't we take off Tuesday Night Football, Wednesday Night Football, Friday Night Football, and Saturday Night Football. Like, I'm just clearing the whole schedule out for you.
Yeah, that's more than half the week, so that really clears the schedule for some good action.
Yeah, it would be a really lucky lady to be in that position. But getting on with the Sunday games here, Tampa Bay at Indianapolis. So Tampa Bay went kind of right down the field, and then Baker Mayfield went out. It actually really was unfortunate. He got hurt on the QB sneak briefly. Kyle Trask comes in, and they go incomplete and have to kick a field goal. I feel like that almost could have been like a difference in the game. Obviously, Baker did come back and was okay. But if he didn't have to come out for that one play, maybe they score. But yeah, Indianapolis or whatever, Indianapolis had a very good game plan here, and they just kind of got off to a lead and held it, and that was that.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa just doesn't seem like they're making use of some of their other weapons. Like
for sure, like Chris Godwin.
I mean,
Mike Evans had a big game.
Yeah, but like he's like the only one. Like I feel like Baker is not spreading the ball around like he was like earlier when they actually like were winning some games. He's got a solid tight end in Cade Otton.
Yeah, I like Cade.
Yeah, and Godwin's not really getting any points anymore.
I think Baker's playing pretty well. Like he had one pick in this game. But overall, I think he's had a pretty good year. Their defense and I think their coaching is more the issue.
Yeah, I mean, better than I expected Baker to perform.
He's got good touchdown and interception numbers. Like he's got better probably than like half the league, I think.
Yeah.
Moving on though, New England at the Giants. This game was a shock to me. I really thought New England, like Bill Belichick, would just eat up this young quarterback. I went in that whole anecdote last time about the game against Justin Herbert in his rookie year, and it's just like I neglect to realize the Patriots and Bill Belichick just aren't who they used to be in any way, shape, or form.
Not with Mac Jones at the helm or Bailey Zappi.
No, I mean, they still, they have a good defense, and they sacked Tommy DeVito a bunch. Like, I started New England's defense in one of my leagues, and they still put up some points. It's just their offense is so incompetent. I don't know. I think they have Matt Patricia at offensive coordinator who got fired from the Lions head coaching job a few years ago. It's just bad all around. I don't know if Bill Belichick's got some scheme up his sleeve where he's trying to tank for Caleb Williams, but it's ugly, and I think that he should be on the hot seat because you can't let an undrafted quarterback who still lives with his mom, who does his laundry, come into your house and outplay you in every, facet of the game. Tommy DeVito played well in this game going up against the Patriots. I mean, he was pushing the ball down the field, didn't turn the ball over. Really happy for the guy. 2 back-to-back good games, 2 back-to-back wins for him. He might,
take the starter job.
I don't know about that. I think they did actually say that Daniel Jones, when healthy, is still their starter.
Really?
But if Tommy DeVito keeps going out there and winning and throwing up good numbers, they'll bring that back.
Right.
I mean, at least I think he's making himself some money right here, so I'm happy for him.
Definitely.
But what a gross game. But good pick, though, for you on the Giants.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was almost not even a win because I don't know if you saw the end. New England missed the field goal.
It was like a 35, 39-yarder.
Yeah, dude, that's an easy...
I was watching this, but I didn't even have confidence they'd win overtime. So.
Right.
Next up, we have Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. So this game Jake Browning played much better than I thought he would. Did have the interception, though. Kenny Pickett had one of his best games of his career. Is there a correlation there with firing Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator? I don't really think so. I still think that Kenny Pickett's not the answer. I just think this is one of your typical, everyone's fired up because there was a firing. Everyone feels like their job's on the line.
Yeah, that or because the Muth was back.
Who?
Freiermuth.
Oh, Freiermuth, yes.
Yeah, he went nuts.
Although he was back last week and did absolute jack shit.
Oh, that's right.
No, the Muth.
He just went crazy.
Yeah, oh my God, I love this guy. I had him stashed in my IR in a couple leagues. I did not drop him because I remember from last year, he was really good. But I didn't start him in a couple of my leagues because of, what he did last week was not so good. But obviously, tremendous game, lots of receptions. That was humongous for the fantasy world. But yeah, I mean, Kenny Pickett looked really good. And yeah, I mean, the Bengals just are nothing without Joe Burrow. They win this game with Joe Burrow, I think, pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you had a sharp pick here in taking Pittsburgh. I really had more confidence in Jake Browning than I should have. He did, like you said, he did play well. But, like, even, just against a scrappy team like Pittsburgh, he couldn't get the job done.
Yeah. I feel like Pittsburgh always wins the games they're, like, supposed to. Except for that blowout against Houston. They've won everything they're supposed to, and they lose when they're not supposed to win.
Right.
So they're pretty easy for me to predict.
Yeah.
Next up, Carolina at Tennessee. Carolina, obviously, a disaster. They just fired their head coach, who's been now fired, I think multiple seasons in a row. He got fired from the Colts last year, now fired from the Panthers. Didn't even see it out. But, yeah, they are ugly. Adam Thielen's getting no action now. I do like Jonathan Mingo, and he's gotten a little bit more involved, so that's good. But, yeah, Tennessee, solid coach, pretty good defense, especially, in terms of, like I said, the coaching. Will Levis still not really looking amazing or anything of the sort, but I think he did have 2 touchdowns in this game. Or no, it was Derrick Henry had the 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
So Will Levis still just not really putting up any big numbers.
I don't expect him to. Yeah, that game against Atlanta, he caught everyone off guard, but he was not great in college, so I really don't expect him to be anything too special here in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, this was an easy opponent for Tennessee to feast on.
Yeah, you're right. I just kind of feel bad for Bryce Young, man. I mean, he's probably feeling a little jealous of CJ.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely prospering on the Texans.
I don't even know, though, if Bryce went to the Texans, he would be having the success that CJ's having because of the fact that he's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
In college, he never faced any adversity. I think back to some of the losses Alabama had there. I mean, they lost to Georgia one time. They lost to Texas A&M or something. But ultimately, though, he's thrown to the best players. He's got the best defense all the time. He's never having to come back from deficits. And C.J. Stroud, on the other hand, I know Ohio State's a very good team as well, but when he played Georgia, I mean, he played them really well. Almost won that game in the playoffs last year, in the college football playoffs, that is. So I just think he's a little bit more experienced in terms of, being tested, battle-tested. And I think ultimately, C.J. is going to be far more successful than Bryce Young, no matter who their weapons are, where they go.
Or the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, I know Bryce Young, you can't compare them, like completely different situations, but you kind of can. They both have first-year head coaches. They both have unknowns at the receiver position. I mean, no one knew who Tank Dell and Nico Collins were. No one thought that Dalton Schultz was going to go nuts here. No one believed in their running backs as much as, Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. So I feel like you can compare them a little bit more than people are saying. And that's why, I mean, I do think Bryce Young deserves a little bit of criticism because he hasn't been very good.
Yeah, no, I mean, he certainly does. Like you said, pretty much the only one that people even would know between the teams is probably Adam Thielen.
Yeah, just because he was around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's already getting
But everyone writes him
old.
off for being old, But,
Exactly.
I mean, he's still obviously talented. I mean, he's put up big numbers in some of these games. So that's what I feel about that. Jacksonville at Houston.
You had a good pick here, man. But it was closer than I think you thought it would be.
Well, honestly, though, I was going to say it really shouldn't have been this close because at the end of the first half, Jacksonville was down at the 1 yard line of Houston, and they went for it with 1 second on the clock, right? And they didn't get it. So I feel like, Christian Kirk gets into the end zone. Oh, something else happens. Travis Etienne gets into the end zone on that play. They call a different play. They score a touchdown. So then they're up a lot more going into halftime, and then they get the ball again. Trevor has kind of a not great interception in the third quarter. So I really think at the end of the day, Brendan McManus also missed a field goal. So I think it really shouldn't have been this close. Like, there were a lot of opportunities where Jacksonville could have really gotten up on Houston, but C.J. Stroud still having a great game. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, though, man, he had a humongous game passing. I mean, there was a point where he was throwing the ball for over 13 yards a clip. That came down a little bit, but he had some humongous completions in this game. Houston's defense kind of got exposed. But yeah, CJ's still playing really well. And happy to see that for them, but they are technically out of the playoffs at the moment in favor of the Colts.
Yes, yeah, just in the hunt, but I think that they will soon be back in.
I mean, I think they avenged their loss against the Colts when they play them again here, so that may play a factor. New Orleans at Atlanta. This was the game that I unfortunately had to watch. I don't understand. around here we get Fox and CBS, right? And so you have 2 games to choose from. It was either New Orleans or Atlanta, New Orleans at Atlanta, or Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. And I'm like, put a gun to my head. I don't understand why one of those games wasn't Jacksonville at Houston. I think it was like CBS who had that game, and yet they chose to do New Orleans at Atlanta. It pissed me off because this game was horrendous to watch. At start, Derek Carr's throwing the ball over the place. He has like the most passing yards in a quarter for the Saints, or maybe even like one of the highest totals of the entire year.
But they still can't get a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, he throws a pick 6, which isn't great. I mean, he still looks pretty good, I think. And then Chris Olave goes out with a concussion, and Michael Thomas was already out on the IR.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, can't score a touchdown. Desmond Ridder throws 2 picks, doesn't even look that good in this game. But they had some horrible play calls where they blitzed him, and he beat the blitz. So, I mean, you can't just sell this guy short. He still has some sort of physical ability where he's going to be able to beat your blitz half the time. And so that's how the touchdowns got scored. And, it was just incredibly frustrating watching this game because you feel like New Orleans is the more talented team. They have the star players, and they still just can't get it done. Like, oh my God, it was abysmal. And I had money on this game too in like multiple facets because I really felt confident in New Orleans, especially when Atlanta announced they're bringing back Desmond Ridder, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, bro, they were just playing sloppy ball. I think they both had 2 turnovers. It was just looking bad out there.
Didn't love that at all, but moving on to the Rams at the Cardinals. Rams just blew them out. This game was actually kind of interesting at the start. Rams go down the field, score a touchdown. Cardinals go down the field, score a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. So you think, oh my goodness, we're in for a shootout.
Did their kicker get hurt or something? Why'd they go for 2?
I don't know. I wasn't watching this game, but usually when someone goes for 2 like that, it's when they get like a penalty and then they like
get half the distance to the goal. Yeah,
so it's a shorter 2-point conversion. So
Right.
that's probably what happened. So yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray's been playing pretty good over the last couple of weeks that he's been back. I feel like he should be playing better though. Like he was the number 1 overall pick. I feel like if you put like other like good quarterbacks on this team, like they put up more points or they win some of these games. Like they beat Houston or they play better against the Rams here. I know, like I said last week, the Rams have always played very well against the Cardinals, so I didn't give them a chance, but it got ugly. Good for Matt Stafford, though. Put up 4 touchdowns. I got gypped out of a yardage one here. I think I had Matt Stafford over 234, and he finished with like 225 and 4 touchdowns. So it's like, what happened there? I mean, he was just throwing more touchdowns than NFL yards, but...
Well, I'm glad you didn't take the over on Cooper Kupp because he has
I'm
just
staying
been
away from
nowhere
him.
to be found,
I have
bro.
to start him in one of my leagues because I don't really have anyone else to go to.
I mean, my starting 2 receivers in my regular fantasy league are Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen, so I feel absolutely screwed for my playoff chances.
You should pick up Jonathan Mingo.
Mingo the Dingo.
I think that's a good pickup, honestly, just because maybe with this new head coach or the interim head coach, they decided to use Jonathan Mingo a little bit more. So that's not a bad one.
I might have to.
For sure. I think I might have to pick him up myself. But yeah, I mean, the Rams just blew him out.
Yeah.
Cleveland at Denver. I'm surprised Denver scored as much as they did, but I guess when you're going up against Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who is going to give you those shorter fields, I'm not sure if he really turned the ball over. He might have. I know they did turn the ball over, but I'm not sure if it was him. I think P.J. Walker came in this game. Not a game I watched, but did feel good about this Denver pick. Did feel good about them covering the spread. So, yeah, I mean, Denver's just hot right now for sure, and I'm happy to see it. Like, I'm happy they're finally having success after like a year and a half of just dreadfulness. Yeah, Russell's playing efficient. They're extremely lethal on the defensive side of the ball there. So, yeah, I just think Cleveland, you could write them off now that Deshaun Watson's gone. They're running into some of these tougher games where they're not going to be able to win because their quarterback situation is just so inept.
Yeah, I mean, PJ is absolutely not going to carry them to any victories.
I mean, neither of them, Dorian Thompson-Robinson or PJ Walker. So
right. But Russell had a nice rushing touchdown in this game, and it's just honestly crazy how they rebounded after that 70-point game with the Dolphins.
Good for them, though.
Yeah, I mean,
they
for
can
sure.
Make the playoffs, dude.
Yeah, I know, which is crazy after starting out 1-5. Like, I literally thought that, like, after that 70-point game by the Dolphins against them, I was just like, all right, kind of what you said with the Bengals, like, you can just write off Denver. Yeah. This is another crappy season. Like, Russell is removing himself from the Hall of Fame picture and like
playing himself out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know what's going on in Denver, but they
just finally got it right. You know, it just took them a while, but you look back and you're almost like, damn, like if we could have held on to beat the Commanders and didn't give up like 20 points, if we could have beat the Raiders, we lost them by 1 point. We'd be like 8-3 now,
which is crazy.
I know, right? It's like, wow, like just think if they won a couple more of those games, they'd be in primo position right now. But good for them. Buffalo at Philly, obviously the game of the week. Bills
I think the game of the year, dude. I really think this was the best game of the year. Yeah, I mean, it very well
could have been. Yeah, I mean, love when it goes to overtime for sure. It's always a contender for a good game when it goes to overtime. Usually, although I guess not always. Like that game, New England, the Giants could have gone to overtime if the guy makes a 35-yard field goal. But yeah, I watched almost all this game. Buffalo got up early off a couple Jalen Hurts turnovers. Jalen Hurts he was like 2 for 9 at one point, just not good at all. Philadelphia was looking sad. And then Buffalo had a couple opportunities there at the end of the first half. They did. So I know they had like this call on, like there was a horse collar tackle for Josh Allen that doesn't get called. He's like torn to the ground and he like throws the ball like where he's like literally on the ground. It was so weird.
Yeah.
And he gets called for intentional grounding. So instead of them getting the penalty, they are penalized. I think that's when Tyler Bass got the field goal like tipped and missed. But then they did get the ball back, I think it was a fumble or something, and then they did go down and score. So that was good, but so many missed opportunities here. Obviously, in overtime, Gabe Davis not looking back and catching that ball that could have, he had a step on the defender. He could have easily scored there, I think. Josh Allen throwing a costly interception there in the second half. Josh Allen had a sensational game, but at the end of the day, you got to put some of the blame on him because he did throw a pick in his own territory. And I think Philadelphia got an immediate touchdown off of that. And, just got to hand it to Philadelphia. I just can't believe that they're so resilient. Jalen Hurts is just so stoic. You look at this guy on the sidelines. He just doesn't give a rat's ass at all.
Yeah, Elliott kicks a 59-yarder, and he just stares like stone-faced. Doesn't even smile. Is not excited. He just didn't want to go back out into that rain.
When Elliott kicked the humongous field goal, he was still like shaking his head because he was upset that they had to kick the field goal and weren't, still marching down the field. He is just a cold killer, stone cold killer, but good for them. I think there's some value this week. I can't believe they're an underdog this week at home.
I know. I was a little spooked by that too.
I think San Fran has a really good chance of winning, but it's like, I think there's a ton of value. You're telling me like the best team in the league right now is an underdog? At home? I don't know about that one. We'll get to that. Kansas City. Oh, do you have any thoughts on this, though?
No, I don't really have anything else to add.
But good pick, though, obviously, on Philadelphia there.
Yeah, they really could have gone either way.
Really, yeah. Oh, man, that was irritating. Kansas City at Vegas. So Kansas City obviously down 14, but then come back roaring and just shut the Raiders down. And O'Connell played phenomenal over the first quarter and a half. I think he was like 13 of 15 for a whole bunch of yards, and I think he had a touchdown there to Jacobs. But yeah, I knew it was going to happen too. I honestly didn't think that the Chiefs would come back and cover the spread, but I was happy they did because I put some money on that. Although, yeah, it's kind of nuts, though. I really can't believe they let Vegas get up on them so quickly.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of the reverse of what's been happening in all their prior games where they stopped scoring in the second half, whereas here they just didn't score at much in the first, and then they went crazy in the second. So.
Yeah, it was impressive. It was really impressive. So it's good to see him back on track. I felt really good that they would cover because they've just owned the Raiders.
Yeah.
Coming off of that loss, I thought they would bounce back, and they did. It didn't look like that from the start. And then we have Sunday Night Football, Baltimore at the Chargers. Of course, Baltimore pulled this one away. It was closer than the final score indicated. You had that that late touchdown from Zay Flowers there. But the Chargers had an opportunity down 13-10 to march down the field and score, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't even get into field goal range to tie it. You see this game, Keenan Allen fumbles, Austin Eckler fumbles. I think Justin Herbert fumbled and threw a pick. It's like, oh my God, dude,
sloppy,
this game
bro.
This is another primetime problem. You think this would have been a good game, but Lamar Jackson didn't even play that well. He had an accuracy issue in this game, not throwing that far down the field. It was not a great game all around. I think Justin Tucker maybe missed a field goal.
Yeah, he did.
And it was like a 44-yarder. In the dome, or it's not even a dome,
unprecedented
but
for him.
It's weird. this whole game was weird. And ultimately, yeah, just if you're the Chargers, you got handed like a golden goose. Like if the Ravens are only going to put up really 13 points and you have a chance to win the game and you squander it,
Yeah.
I think it was like 4th and 18. And it was like they don't even have a shot. Like that's what ended up coming down to, a 4th and 18. It's like you just write them off.
Right.
Really disappointing because of how talented they are. You know, all these really star players, and yet they just can't do anything.
Yeah, they really can't do a whole lot, although they did have one sneaky play, which I really liked. I don't know if you saw this play. It was on like a 3rd and 17 for the Chargers, and Hurd threw it like across the middle to Keenan Allen, maybe like, let's say 7 yards. And Keenan, as soon as he catches it, Eckler's like running like past the line of scrimmage. Yeah, but like he did like an overhand pass, like, well, it was backwards, but yeah, lateral. And then Eckler scampers for the first down, like 17
That's
yards.
Awesome.
I mean, that was like the sneakiest play that they pulled in a while.
I don't know why. I mean, obviously, you know, it's dangerous to do that because it could be a fumble. But when it's done, like, it's so clean. I remember Travis Kelce did that a few years ago, I think, to Tyreek. And it's just, I love seeing that stuff. It's just some creativity that I really wish got utilized more, even though it's a little risky.
Yeah, I don't know if that was Brandon Staley coming up with that or their offensive coordinator, but
maybe it's
I
just
do
Keenan
like
Allen, maybe improvising on the spot.
Frisky.
You know? Yeah. But yeah, I actually flip-flopped on this pick as time went on. I bet on Baltimore. I don't know what I was thinking picking the Chargers here, but I just thought like one of these upsets, either Buffalo or the Chargers would have hit.
No, that's fair.
What was I going to say? But yeah, I was looking at this one and, man, I was like, oh yeah, Baltimore was like in danger of not even covering, which I was upset about. But they did finally end up covering there. You know, they were 3-point favorites. But anyways, Monday Night Football, Chicago at Minnesota. Yet another wonderful primetime game.
This one you could not even watch, bro. Their first touchdown wasn't even until the fourth quarter. I mean, that's just embarrassing. Talk about like
first touchdown score.
Yeah.
Still could have hit even in the fourth quarter if you took TJ Hawkinson. That would not have been a bad bet, honestly.
Yeah.
But Chicago and so Justin Fields and Josh Dobbs trying to give the game away. Like they both were just like, no, you have it. No, you have it. Justin Fields with the 2 fumbles. Josh Dobbs with the 4 picks,
bro.
One of the picks he threw, like he only threw it like 2 yards and it got bobbled off one of the linemen's hands into one of the other defenders, Kyle Gordon. It was like, holy cow, like Josh Dobbs, like I love you. You're so cool. You're the pastronaut or whatever they call you. But you can't be making some of these horrible decisions. It's like everyone loves you right now, but this is the fastest way to get everyone to hate you by throwing all these boneheaded interceptions. You had that game locked down.
This is more winnable. This was a more winnable game than their prior to.
For sure. And same thing, honestly, with the Bears. Like you get 4 interceptions and you can't even score a touchdown.
It's just embarrassing.
Everyone's got to go. I want Matt Eberflus gone. I want Justin Fields gone.
Yeah.
I want the offensive coordinator gone. I want Ryan Poles, the general manager, gone. I want them all gone. I want Caleb Williams, and I want an offensive coach like Ben Johnson from the Lions or somebody, because it's horrible watching the Bears right now. I'm sorry, Justin Fields, but I know the fumbles, like I said with Jared Goff, could be a little fluky. But, like, dude, protect the ball. I mean, with Jared Goff, he's not trying to run, you know, so he's getting hit, like, kind of in the pocket. Justin Fields, he's running, so he knows the risk. Like, he should be protecting the ball a little bit more. And they aren't trusting him to throw the ball down the field. Everything was so short.
Dude, I literally saw the stat. His average pass was 0.3 yards down the field. Yeah, but like everything was behind the line of scrimmage. It was just embarrassing.
What it was until the very end. And when he hit the 36 yards to DJ Moore, it's like, oh, wow, look what actually is capable of being done. But,
but they never call those plays, bro. I don't understand.
The one that Darnell Mooney earlier, like Justin Fields was kind of scampering around back there. Darnell Mooney's like wide open for half the time he's scampering in the middle of the field, and Darnell is making his way over to the sideline.
Yeah.
And then Justin Fields just absolutely rockets the ball out of his hands and overthrows it, so that not only does Darnell Mooney have to jump and try and catch it, he gets slammed by the defender because he's going up for it and just gets absolutely popped. So not only did you miss him wide open multiple instances in the same play, but you also made your receiver, just get absolutely slammed because of how poor the timing was. Justin Fields, I'm sorry, you seem nice, but maybe you'd be better on Seattle or Atlanta or wherever, but I don't want you anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Although I don't think that the Bears general manager is going to cut him or the coach.
You don't
or
think so?
I
I
don't
honestly
think so.
think at this, I mean, it obviously depends on how he trades or how he plays over the next few weeks, but
Yeah.
Ryan Poles needs his job. Like, he is managing for his job. So I think he'll try and make a big splash move, being trading Justin Fields away and drafting Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison, maybe with those first couple picks there. I think that would be a humongous move and really just kind of organization changing. I really like Caleb Williams despite everything that's going on with him crying and all that bullshit.
Aren't you concerned a little bit though about the way that he like performed against Notre Dame when he was facing a good defense that put the pressure on him? I mean,
I know he didn't play great against Notre Dame, and then the subsequent teams that he's played since. I mean, ever since Notre Dame fucked him up.
Yeah,
they went 1-6. I think actually 1-4. They lost to Utah, Oregon, Washington, and Utah, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA after that. So it's been ugly for them for sure, and they only beat the one team they beat by 1 point. But with him, like I was talking about with Bryce Young, the opposite. He's like facing all this adversity. He's being very battle tested. So when he does come into the NFL, he knows how to play from behind. And he has not played that bad against some of these teams. Like, he's still putting up big numbers against Oregon, Washington, and Utah. Against Notre Dame, that was his worst game by far, for sure. But I think a lot of it has to do with the offensive line. And he knows his defense at USC is dog shit. So he feels like he's got to be Superman and win everything himself because he can't rely on his defense. I don't love some of the things he does, like off the field, the crying. I don't mind him crying to his mom, but the fact that he made fun of this other quarterback last year for crying in a press conference and then goes and cries to his mom immediately after the game, it's like, dude, not a good look. But I still do like him. I think he's a generational talent and the most similar thing you'll find in Mahomes. At least that's why I think. And I don't want the Bears to pass up on someone like that again, who's such like a slam dunk. Like, you don't find much more of this. Like, there's your Joe Burrow and your Trevor Lawrence, and before that, your Deshaun Watsons, who, like, everyone kind of knew, like, they're going to be fine as long as, like, they have decent weapons and coaching.
Right.
And I think he's like that. So that's my thoughts on that. I mean, we'll see how it plays out over the next few weeks with Justin Fields, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so our Week 12 start and sits. Everything looked decent here. Nothing horrendous.
So, Aaron Jones just didn't even play at all, so that's why I got it as a little yellow here.
Yeah.
He was injured, evidently, but he was still considered, like, playing before when we recorded. So that was just a scratch. And then Brian Robinson had, like, 7.4 points in a half PPR league. I said to sit Brian, so, like, that's like, okay. And then I said to start Kyler, and Kyler had his best game of the year so far in terms of fantasy. I know it didn't like really look like he played all that great, but he had 2 touchdowns, 1 passing, 1 rushing, and he had like 2
conversion.
Yeah, and he had like 200 yards or so. So decent game out of Kyler.
Oh, for sure. Starting Garrett Wilson was pretty solid. I think he did have 100 yards? Or
yeah, I think he had like at least 14 points or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think he had a touchdown, but he had a lot of yard donzos.
He did have a touchdown.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't start him in the one league I had him, actually, so I guess I should probably listen to myself a little bit more. Seeing Devontae Adams was so-so. He definitely didn't perform as well as Jacoby Myers, but he still had a decent amount of yards and receptions, so take it as what you will. As for our best bets, I'll let you go ahead.
Ugh, I don't like all the red, bro. I really felt confident in these ones.
I mean, I would have taken New Orleans money line as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand how they don't score a touchdown. Just the entire game of all field goals is just embarrassing against the Falcons, but oh well, I don't know what else you can do about that. And then Jacksonville at Houston over 47. I mean, if that field goal doesn't hit the crossbar at the end, I mean, that game was over 47.
I did say in the pod last week I wanted the under in this one.
Yeah. All right. I don't know what else. I mean, that should have been over, man. Guess
It
it's a
felt like
game
it
of
was going to be
inches.
over. Yeah, it felt like it was going to go over, but
You had some nice bets, and on top of that, your parlay hit this week, bro. Or
well,
not the parlay.
the parlay that we don't publicize. But on a side note, I've done these like 8-leg college football parlays over the last 3 weeks, and I somehow have hit all 3 of them.
I meant like your 4 spread picks
Yes,
as well.
in the short.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks in a row where I went 4-0. Somehow, some way. This week, it'll probably be less picks because there are less games. It's conference championship week. So I still have some ideas. But to go 8-0 right now, we're on 8-0 stretch. Like, the pressure is like immense right now. Like, I'm sweating like crazy because I really would like to continue this undefeated streak. But as for these past best bets, Jacksonville -1.5. Of course, this one was close, but it did hit. Indianapolis -2.5. Felt good about that one. Did hit. Buffalo +3 really should have hit. They should have just won outright, but at least, it wasn't a miss. Like, they still lost by 3.
Yeah, just voided money back.
I really thought Denver wouldn't score as much, but yeah, so the Cleveland at Denver under did not hit. But the Pittsburgh at Cincinnati under definitely hit. I felt really good about that one, so that one was nice. Iowa +2 at Nebraska. Honestly, as the week went on, I felt more and more bad about this one, but Iowa still won outright. I know you didn't watch the game, but this game was disgusting. Horrible game.
Wasn't it like 15-12 or something like that?
That was Iowa last week against Illinois.
That's right.
It was 13-10.
Oh, yeah.
And
right.
So Iowa's quarterback throws a pick. And, they're both tied at 10. And if I'm Nebraska now, right? So Iowa threw a pick. Nebraska has the ball. If I'm Nebraska, I'm trying to go to overtime because in overtime, you're only going from the 20-yard line. It's much easier to score.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's offense is definitely better than Iowa's defense. And when Iowa's defense is condensed, I think Nebraska will have the upper hand in overtime. So I'm like, just play conservatively. Don't do anything crazy. Just try and go to overtime. And really all you had to do, you could have just kneaded out and gone to overtime.
Yeah.
Instead, the Nebraska quarterback throws a pick, gives it back to Iowa. Iowa breaks off a 30-yard run, kicks a field goal. The field goal kicker, it was his first time ever trying to kick in college. So it was just nuts. A stupid game. But yeah, congrats to Iowa. Memphis at Temple. Got over 65 by, I think, a point. I think it was 45-21.
Yes.
So by a skin of my teeth, got that one. Stanford +26. This one looked like it was going to hit early on. I mean, Stanford was up. I mean, Notre Dame just kept giving the ball away. They were kind of like, what team? Oh, like the Lions. But unlike the Packers, Stanford just has a paper-thin defense. I knew this was going to be the case. I didn't feel any worry about Notre Dame winning, but on the road, they sometimes falter. And Stanford just kind of gave this one away. I mean, when you're able to keep par with Notre Dame and you're able to, capitalize on those turnovers, you can't let what happened happen. Notre Dame just blew them out of the water, though. Michigan -3.5 at Ohio State or against Ohio State.
Biggest college game of the year. You got it right.
Yeah,
bro.
for sure, dude. I love this one. It was a great game, too. This is definitely, it was I wouldn't say back and forth. Like, Michigan had pretty much the lead every point in the game, but Ohio State kept answering. But I did say in that short, they would rattle Kyle McCord. Well, Kyle McCord threw 2 picks, so there you have it. LSU -11. Dude, I was sweating this one out because it was in my parlay, and they were down by 10 at one point in this game. But then Texas A&M's quarterback threw a pick, who's like their third-string quarterback at this point. Yeah, he was actually playing really good. And then LSU just kind of went nuts after that. So that one, they won by 12. So some lucky ones for sure. Virginia just got blown out by Virginia Tech. I hate these two teams. It doesn't make any sense to me, dude. Louisville blows out Virginia Tech, okay? And yet they only beat Virginia by 7. It was a close, good game.
That just
But
makes
then
no
here,
sense.
Virginia Tech blows out Virginia in their own place.
Wasn't it 56-17 or something crazy
something
like that?
disgusting, dude. These ACC teams, Boston College and these two Virginia teams, piss me off.
Yeah.
South Carolina +7 against Clemson. This was an ugly game. I think it was 16-7 at some point. They didn't cover, but it was, I guess, relatively close. And then North Carolina is just completely fallen off the face of the earth. They're at their in-state rival, North Carolina State, who's now ranked, playing really well. Blew them out. Kind of makes you question Drake May, but hey, it's kind of odd. Drake May and Caleb Williams, the 2 top quarterbacks, they happen to be on some bad defensively led teams, and honestly, they haven't played amazing down the stretch. We've been talking about that, but they're still going to be the first 2 picks in the draft. So there you have it. Let's move on now to Week 13, our picks. Thursday Night Football, Seattle at Dallas. Another one that I don't think is a good game because Seattle is on a downward trajectory here, and Dallas is just lethal at home. I like Dallas big in this game, but the spread's already at like 9.5, so I'm just going to stay away from that, to be honest.
Oh, wow, dude. Yeah, that's actually one of my best bets this week. I'm taking Dallas to win, and I had Dallas to cover 7.5, but it must have moved to like 9.5
sure
since
it was,
then.
yeah, because otherwise I would have liked 7.5. But yeah, go ahead and give your thoughts while I look this up.
Yeah, I mean, bro, Dallas has just been pounding these teams, and
yeah, it's 9 right now.
Yeah, wow, that's
and
crazy.
83% of the money is on that 9.
Dude, that gets a little bit scary. I don't like betting against, or betting with 83% of the public. But I mean, Dallas has just been putting a beat down on these teams, and even against Seattle and San Fran last week, Seattle got absolutely cooked.
And they were at home.
Yeah, and I mean, now they're going on the road against Dallas, where Dallas is just borderline unstoppable in their own stadium.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they are so good at home.
Yeah, I think that they should really pound Seattle here this week. Chew up some bird and spit them out.
Right. The only thing that I worry about is like Seattle really needs this game, so maybe they come out firing, but. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with them, like, I'm not so sure how healthy Geno Smith is. I mean, he's got that injury on his tricep, on his throwing arm, and even then, even if he was healthy, he wasn't playing great.
Yeah, I mean, they just they did not score an offensive touchdown at all last week, which is just a major cause for concern.
Their offense has been horrible. I mean, even against the Rams, they weren't great. I think, I mean, I have DK and Tyler Lockett on some of my teams, and it's been tough, for them with me. So
right.
That's why I want to sit Tyler Lockett this week. We'll get to that. Indianapolis at Tennessee, so a little interdivisional rivalry. This is the second time they've played this year in Indianapolis. Second time I've choked up on that. They won the first time. I think they win again here, even though it's at Tennessee. I like Mike Vrabel, the coach. I just think Indianapolis is hot right now. They really are. It's kind of crazy to think of them at 7-5 though. So I don't know. Like, I would not be adverse to taking maybe Tennessee in the spread, but I'm going to go with Gardner Minshew and some mania in this one.
Yeah, dude, I like that pick. I'm also taking the Colts this week. Tennessee has not been looking all that great, in my opinion. I mean, they didn't – I mean, I guess they won by a touchdown last week against Carolina, but I mean, that's really not that impressive.
No, it's not impressive at all.
I think they were up 14-0 or 14-3, like in the first, at the very start of the second quarter, maybe, and they didn't even score a touchdown for the rest of the game against a crappy.
You should be able to put up more points against the Panthers.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm not loving Tennessee, and I'm rolling with Indianapolis this week.
Plus, like, if Zach Moss is back, like, he was phenomenal last time against Tennessee. He had his best game of the season, so that's interesting. Atlanta at the Jets. I originally had Atlanta here, but I'm going to switch to the Jets. I just don't believe in Desmond Ridder, and I think the Jets they have a really good defense that will rattle the shit out of Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder turns the ball over multiple times in this game again, and I think Tim Boyle bounces back and gets a win here. Like, I don't see the Jets going on this big of a skid. Like, I think in terms of the script writers, like, they need the Jets to get this win. So, like, the hopes for Aaron Rodgers coming back and playing meaningful games, like, is still alive, even though I don't think it'll happen. I saw this headliner the other day. Aaron Rodgers eyeing Christmas Eve return, or was it Christmas Day? I'm like, no way, dude.
Yeah.
Ain't going to be nothing to play for, but I'm going to take the Jets.
Yeah, there's no reason that Aaron should be rushing a return, especially
way.
When he'd be coming back to this Jets team, which is not in any
garbage pile.
Yeah, looking like they're going to make the playoffs. So I do not like the Jets this week. I'm honestly pretty surprised that you're picking them over Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta did beat what I think is still a better New Orleans team last week. And I'm not saying that Atlanta's on the rise, but if we can just have Bijan put up another 2 touchdowns, I think this would be an easy win for Atlanta against the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I just being in the Jets' home stadium, and Atlanta's only won 1 game on the road this year, being at Tampa. They struggle in these colder environments, so that's why I like the Jets. Detroit at New Orleans, I don't know, this feels like a little bit of a trap game, but I'm hoping that Detroit, they're being much more well-coached than they were over the last few years, don't have like that kind of skid type of mentality, and they bounce back instead. So I'm going to take them here, but I do think this is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, I think they just figure out what went wrong last week, and Detroit will come back strong. Meanwhile, I just think that New Orleans has a lot of work to do. I mean, again, going off of the no touchdown thing, you cannot be playing 60 minutes of football without a single score. I mean, he was not getting the ball to Kamara, and now Olave is out.
Yeah, Michael Thomas is out. Olave's status is in doubt.
I mean,
so
less
I don't
offensive
like
weapons. So I prefer Detroit this week.
Here we go, the Denver at Houston game.
All right, I love your pick of Denver. Not to steal it from you. I honestly, if it weren't for our little joke that here, I would be
Houston's
taking Denver.
Not a bad pick at all. Houston's at home. Denver's bound to lose a game. Do they really go on a 7-game win streak?
Probably not, but I just like riding the teams that are hot, and Denver is one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They're just going crazy every week. I think this will be a really high scoring game, honestly. But I really like your pick of Denver, but I'm just for our little pod, I'm gonna roll with Houston.
Good. Yeah, no, I like Denver's defense to travel here to Houston, rattle CJ Stroud a bit. I know he's proven to be a little turnover prone the last couple of weeks, not against Jacksonville, but big time against the Cardinals in the game before that against the Bengals. So, yeah, that is why I like Denver here, although I think your pick is totally feasible as well. Chargers at New England. Oh, my goodness gracious. I think the Chargers need this one badly. I mean, New England needs it pretty badly too, but the Chargers are just more capable of getting it because of the fact of all their talent. So I'm going to take them on the road here. Probably is going to be a freezing game, but yeah. Yeah, Giants or the Patriots just have nothing going offensively. So.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know who's going to start at QB this week. I mean, Belichick just yanked Mac Jones last week. They're
basically the same.
I mean, yeah, they both suck. So, yeah, we're definitely rolling Chargers here.
Arizona at Pittsburgh. I almost want to take Arizona in this one, but I am going to stay with Pittsburgh. They have this little trend going where they lose 2 and then they win, or they lose 1, they win 2, lose 1, win 2. They've done that a lot, actually. So that means they would win this week. So I'm going to take them here, especially because they're at home. I just feel like Kyler Murray's bound to have one of those games where he just freaks out and runs all over the place. But going up against that good Pittsburgh defense, I'm not going to pick for that to happen just yet. But maybe against Seattle in a couple weeks, I think that might happen.
As long as the Muth is playing, I got to roll with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I
have to say.
Think starting him's definitely the play this week.
Yeah.
Miami at Washington. I almost want to take Washington this one because
that's a sneaky pick.
Both of these teams are liable to give up points. I think this could be a really high scoring game, almost like the over 50. But I don't know. Did I put that?
You
in
did,
there?
yeah.
I did, yeah. So I'm gonna roll with that. I think this feels like a 35-22 type of game or something like that.
Interesting.
I'm going to take Miami, though. I just think that their defense is a little bit better and their offense is a little bit better as well. But Washington's kind of like a Miami light. Their defense isn't great. Their offense is pretty solid against bad defenses. So
I like the pick. I'm rolling with Miami as well. I do think that this would probably be high scoring. I do like your over pick here. But Miami seems to win the games against teams that have bad records, and they lose the ones with the good records. Exactly. And this is one of those teams that has a bad record, so Miami is liable to win this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be one to watch out for. Carolina at Tampa Bay. Here's another one where I almost would want to take Carolina because whenever a team fires their head coach, they come out firing the next game.
That's not a bad pick.
But Tampa Bay needs this one desperately. I mean, Tampa Bay's coach needs it, so he won't get fired, Todd Bowles. And it's in Tampa. They know what Carolina is going to want to do, and they really aren't capable of doing much. So I think Tampa Bay, relies on their Mike Evans, their Chris Godwin, and I mean Rashad White had a really good game.
Oh yeah, he's been looking solid,
good somehow, some way. I wish he was better last year when Tom Brady was still there, but I'm going to take Tampa.
Yeah, I'm taking Tampa too. Carolina doesn't really seem to get the ball rolling at all on their offense, and I do like Tampa to come away with a victory at home here. I do think that gives them an edge.
San Fran at Philly, probably the best game of the week. Yes. Of course, an NFC Championship rematch. It's always good to see these rematches. So I want San Fran to win, but I'm going to take Philadelphia. I just don't know how Philadelphia is not favored at home against a team that they annihilated last year. I know the quarterback went down, but I think they still would have won if Brock Purdy was in that whole game. Additionally, they just know how to win these games. Until they prove me wrong, I'm on a ride with them. And I want San Fran to win. So if they do win, I won't be upset. And if Philly wins, I won't be upset because I predicted it right. I'm going to even take them plus obviously I'm going to take them in the points. Like whenever they're an underdog, I feel like any 10-1 team at home, you got to take if they somehow, some way end up being the underdog.
Yeah, so, that's been my logic for taking Dallas, like other games this year.
It's still going to be a good game. I wish it was Sunday or Monday night, though. I know it's like, I guess, the 4 o'clock window. It's going to be like the Buffalo-Philly game. But I think it would have been more fun if it was a prime time.
Right. Yeah, another America's Game of the Week here. But I'm actually going to roll with San Fran, one of our few differences here this week.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of interesting because...
A revenge game?
Yeah, that for one. But also, like, if San Fran is favored, like the money line, I wonder if that means that like Vegas knows something we don't.
That's what I was thinking,
because people are going to be like, oh my god, how is Philly like underdogs at home, like against a team with like 2 more losses, so let's like toss some coin on Philly at plus money.
Let's see where the money's at, though. I think last time I checked it was like all on San Fran. 76% on San Fran, dude. That is nuts.
Money line
78 on money line, 76 on the spread.
What?
It's like everyone knows something we don't. The public and Vegas knows something we don't.
That's
the game opened as a pick'em,
and
the public bet it all the way to San Fran.
I'm really surprised by that. Wow.
That makes me like Philly more in this game, honestly, just because it started at a pick'em. Like Vegas didn't really know. But if I'm Vegas, I'm giving them the 2.5 because they're at home.
I don't know that I would give them 2.5. Like San Fran went on their little drought of like sadness. I don't know what else you want to call it, where they dropped 3 straight. But like outside that little trough, they have just been like,
I know they've been great. They've been
incredible.
Really good. And Philly's back end is not great, so I think Brock Purdy has a good game. But man, I don't know. It's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
Cleveland at the Rams. Like we talked about, Cleveland's quarterback situation is inept. So I just don't see them winning too many more games here. It's hard to win with a backup quarterback. So I like the Rams, but I do think there's a chance for this one to hit the under just because Cleveland's defense is so good and the Rams offense has really struggled, especially against competent teams. Obviously, the Cardinals are not competent, so we're excluding them. But yeah, maybe Matt Stafford found something, though. I'm really happy to see him having some success because it feels like he really hasn't since that Super Bowl year 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I think that Cleveland will probably keep Kyren Williams in check this week. But I'm still going to take the Rams because, like you said, Cleveland can't get anything going on offense.
Rams could go on a little run here. They could still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think, didn't you have for Kansas City, Green Bay? Didn't you have Green Bay here?
I did have Green Bay, and I kind of just decided to switch it last minute.
That was a wild pick.
Dude,
sure.
I kind of was like riding them after last week just because they pounded Detroit, and I decided to make a little swapski because Kansas City came out strong in the second half. Like, if Kansas City decided not to score in the second half last week, I think I would have kept it with Green Bay, but I don't know. I think that you convinced me that I should have gone with Kansas City.
I like Kansas City to cover the 6.5 point spread. It opened at 7, got bet down to 6.5. So I like them to cover that. I just think that their defense is really solid, and it's going to send Jordan Love back down to the mean, regress down to the mean. I know he had a couple good games strung together, but that's the Chargers and the Lions.
Yeah.
We saw the Chargers and the Lions put up a 41-38 game. So those defenses just are not good. I think the Chargers statistically have the worst defense in the league. So
I think this is actually going to be a good primetime matchup. Even though it doesn't look like it, I think this game will be closer than people think.
So you would take Green Bay to cover?
I mean, that was originally one of my best bets, but I did remove it just because I do think that Kansas City will probably end up winning. But I do think that this is going to be actually like a solid primetime matchup.
Yeah, it's definitely like 2 big, markets for sure. But
and like Green Bay at home, dude, Lambeau's a tough place to play.
It is, but at least Kansas City's used to the cold. Like if it was Miami, I'd feel a little differently for sure if it was Jacksonville. But yeah, Kansas City, they are a cold weather team. So anyways, Monday Night Football, this one would have been really good. Joe Burrow against Trevor Lawrence, Cincinnati at Jacksonville. But
not anymore.
Now it's Jake Browning, so now I am absolutely going to take Trevor Lawrence no matter what.
Hammering Jacksonville.
What is the spread on this one here? This one's probably a pretty large spread. Oh, 8.5.
Yeah.
That honestly feels like a little bit much. That's a little bit much, I think. It got bet up from 7.5 to 8.5. I almost kind of like the Bengals there. But we'll have to sit on that. Maybe that line will even grow a little bit more, and then maybe it gets up to 10. I'd love if it got up to 10, dude. I'd hop on that.
Sneaky. A lot of buys this week, though. We got 6 teams on bye. It's a shorter week. We got Baltimore, Buffalo, Chicago, Las Vegas, Minnesota, and the Giants.
The buys have been so weird, dude. It's like you go from there was
none.
that 1 week there was no buys.
There was
and
none
like
last week either.
Yeah, I know. It's like, maybe that was because it was a holiday week or all that, but it's like, and yeah. Now there's 6. So it's just in terms of fantasy, you almost think oh yeah, we're done with buys now, and then you just get slammed.
Right.
Anyways, the start and sits for this week. I like Jalen Warren a lot.
I love that pick, dude.
We just saw Kyron Williams go nuts against the Cardinals defense. Now Jalen Warren didn't have a great game against the Bengals. He actually fumbled, which kind of boned me in one of my fantasy leagues. But he is still a very viable back. I like his explosiveness.
He looks better than Najee, honestly.
He's definitely more explosive. Najee is still being used. He had a touchdown against the Bengals. So, yeah, I like that pick. Terry McLaurin as well. I just think, there's a chance that, what's his face?
Curtis Samuel?
No, the Miami corner that just got back.
Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah, him. There's a chance that he just shuts Terry down. Terry's not had a phenomenal game or a phenomenal year, but I still like starting him because I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. And I'm just saying Tyler Lockett. I think DK at this point is the only viable Seahawk receiver. I don't trust Tyler Lockett. He's not been great over the last couple of games, and he kind of disappears when he goes up against more physical defenses. And obviously the Cowboys are the embodiment of that at home as well.
Right.
So I really feel good about that one.
Yeah, I like that pick as well. This week, I'm going to start Tutu Atwell. So I know that the Rams are facing Cleveland, and they have a good defense, but I think Cleveland is going to be covering Kupp and Puka for the most part.
Right.
And they're going to be trying to stop Kyron, so I think Tutu will have his chances to get open.
Yeah, Tutu had 3 receptions for 76 yards. He had a humongous one on the very first drive or two. I didn't start him in my league, but I am going to start him this week, so we're going to see what happens. And yes, I'm actually this next one I'm going to enact myself as well.
Yeah, so we're going to roll with sitting Adam Thielen. He has been incredible for the first 7 weeks of the season or so, and since then basically done exactly what Kupp is doing. He just hit the bench. He's just been a ghosty.
Those white receivers, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, my fantasy team's just filled with those white receivers, and they're just absolutely
cave trolls.
Yeah, ghosting me these days. So yeah,
I like that for sure. And like we talked about, I think Jonathan Mingo is going to have a larger role moving forward. Moving on to our best bets. I'll let you go first because I have a shitload as per usual.
Okay. I kind of already talked about Dallas -7.5. I think they really chomped the birds this week.
If you could do an alternative spread, probably 7.5's in that round, -120 or -125. I think that's still probably a good bet.
Right. I would even still take them at -9 or -9.5, whatever it is at the time that we publish it. And then second, Rams -4.5. I do think that their offense is going to score at least a few touchdowns this week against a decent Cleveland defense, but Cleveland's not going to be scoring many points with PJ at the helm. So I like the Rams to cover 4.5 this week. And then lastly, Atlanta at the Jets under 34. You rarely see point totals this low at under 34. I know we saw one last week. There were 2 actually, I guess. I think that's honestly kind of an exception. Cleveland and Denver under 35.5 did not hit, but your Pittsburgh at Cincinnati under 34.5 did hit. And I like that for the Atlanta against the Jets game too. Both of these teams kind of have crappy offenses. I don't see this game going very high.
Yeah, I actually have that as well, although I wish it was a little higher. I wish it was a smidgen higher, and maybe it will get bet up a little bit. But I do like that one. And I like Miami at Washington over 50, so on the flip side of that. And I like Washington to cover that spread plus 9.5. I just think that they really need this game. They've had a couple bad losses over the last few weeks. I think they come out. I feel like this is didn't I say a 30-22 game or something like that? That's kind of how I like it.
35-22.
All right, so maybe 30-22 then, so that Washington covers. And like we talked about as well, Philly, anytime they're an underdog, I'm going to take them, especially in this state. So
that's
plus
a great
2.5, even if they don't win, they have a chance of, cashing that.
Yeah.
I like Denver plus 3.5. I honestly can't believe that they
are underdogs.
Yeah, well, I think they should probably be underdogs on the road, but I can't believe it's 3.5. Like, I think this is like a +1, +2, +1.5 type of game, so I'm going to take them for sure at 3.5. Getting into college football, it's championship week, so there's not as much to pick from, but I still like Oregon minus 9.5 against Washington. This is the Pac-12 championship in Vegas. This is crazy. Washington beat Oregon earlier in the year, so now Washington's coming in as almost 10-point underdogs to a team they already beat. But that just goes to show how they've been playing recently and how Oregon's been playing recently. I think 9.5 is not even enough. Oklahoma State plus 14.5. For whatever reason, I got this in plus money when I early bet it yesterday. It was plus 100 at them 14.5. I love that. If you could still get that plus money on FanDuel, go for it. But even at minus 110, I like them to cover that spread. I just think that Texas usually plays closer games than that. This is the Big 12 championship, and Oklahoma State wants nothing more than to sour Texas's playoff hopes as they leave the conference and go to the SEC next year. Then we got Boise State minus 2.5 against University of Nevada, Las Vegas. This is your, Mountain West Conference Championship. I just think Boise State's better than their record. You got an interim head coach who's playing for the full-time job. And UNLV has been a cute, nice story. They had a really good season, but I just don't think that they're up, to pace, up to snuff and experienced enough to take down a Boise State team. And I just think they lose by more than 2.5. I think they lose by maybe around 5 to 7 or then some. Then SMU against Tulane for this is like the Conference USA over 48. Actually, no, this isn't Conference USA. This is the American Athletic. I just can't believe this is such a low total. This is one of my favorite bets of the entire week. SMU, Tulane, they are high-scoring teams. There is not much defense play, especially on the Tulane front over the last few weeks. SMU, they are just incredible on offense. I love this bet over 48. I feel like this is finally when the Iowa over hits. It has not hit in weeks and weeks and weeks, but I think against Michigan, over 35.5 is the play. I think Michigan is liable to put up over 35 themselves. This feels like a 34-3 type of game, so it's close, but I just think that over finally does hit for Iowa. And then Louisville plus 2.5 against Florida State for the ACC championship game. I'm honestly surprised that Louisville is not even favored because Florida State lost their Heisman contending quarterback. They almost lost to Florida. They were down 12-0. They came back and won that game, and it was, I think, 24-15. So it was bigger margins than it really should have been. And Louisville, obviously, even though they lost to Kentucky, that's an in-state rivalry. I think they come back, they bounce back. I love this bet. I think Moneyline's a good bet for them. This and the SMU Tulane over are my favorite bets of the week. We'll see what I end up putting in the short, but that is what I have for our bets. Any closing comments?
Yeah, just want to talk about my parlay from this past week, bro. I'm still salty that George Kittle ends with 19. We needed 25, and then DK ends with 32. We needed 40. Tried to cook up a plus 200 parlay.
That scared me, dude.
Get some coin.
That really scared me.
Dude, all of those legs, seriously should have hit, though. The least likely was Christian McCaffrey to have a touchdown, and that hit immediately. And
he's had touchdowns in 18 of the last 17 games.
That leg alone was minus 190, I think. Whereas DK 40 yards minus 600. And same with Kittle.
He was 8 yards away. Yeah, that was frustrating for sure. Kittle, he's been so up and down, and whenever Debo plays, he just gets shafted. So.
But Debo had played the week prior, and Kittle still went nuts. Kittle has been averaging 108 yards through the last 4 games.
That's just because he had some humongous games.
Yeah,
and then some low ones. So,
but we only needed 25.
I know. Yeah, that is very low. He could have gotten that in one pass. So,
right.
But yeah, ultimately, San Fran got up so quickly, and then they just got conservative. And Brock Purdy, I had this bet of him over 200 yards, which almost did not hit. So, it just wasn't a big passing for either team.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to cook one up again, but Seattle is literally the Thursday night game again this week, and I don't love betting on Seattle.
All Dallas. I want CeeDee Lamb over 40. I want Tony Pollard over 40 rushing yards. I want
Rico Dowdle.
No.
Brandon Cooks 25.
No.
Dak a touchdown. Why not Brandon Cooks over 25?
I like Dak, yeah. If you can get him at like one passing touchdown and then those two other ones I said, I feel like that would be plus 100.
No, it would not be.
You don't think so?
No, that would be like minus 233.
We'll have to take a gander at that then. But
yeah.
Something around there, we have to add on another leg. But I don't even want to touch Seattle. I really don't. Like
yeah.
I'd rather pick them to have an interception than to pick any player on that team for any yards. And we don't know Kenneth Walker. I don't want.
Yeah, we'll just bet the under,
Zach
dude. We'll
Charbonnet.
just bet the unders on all of the Seattle players.
Yeah, it's not a bad one either, but we'll see.
I wish you could do alternate unders, like DK to have less than 40
dude.
yards.
I want that too. I need some more prop bets for sure. But anyways, thank you guys as always for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be back later on in the week for our usual shorts. I'm going to drop mine probably early because I really do like that Oregon one and Oregon and Washington play on Friday night. So you'll probably see the short again on Friday. But yeah, don't expect me to continue my undefeated run. I mean, 8-0, isn't that good enough for you guys? Like, can you just be happy? Like,
dude, I'm stoked that you went 8-0. I mean,
dude,
you crafted that. If that's like a parlay, that's basically 2 consecutive plus 1,200 parlays that you hit in a row.
If only I put I remember saying like that first short that I did for this, I don't like doing parlays for these because I just like hitting them straight, so I don't get punished for having like a 3-in-1 week.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if I put money on those, even $1, man, that would have been sweet.
Yeah.
But at least I did hit those other parlays. I was talking about. I have had 3 8-leg parlays of moneyline college football games, and that's been good. But yeah, love college football. Sad to see it coming to an end, but we have another month or so in the bowl games and whatnot that we'll, of course, dive into. As always, appreciate it. Any closing comments?
No, just thanks for listening.
Of course. All right, we will see you guys on Thursday.